10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 0 pucks given.
And he manages to get it wide to Jacob Minter. Yeah, good job with the shot, and the Slough Jets have taken the lead on the power play with 23 Russell with the shot cross goal. No need for the save from Lorde, and Cam Barlow finds himself in, and it is 3-1 to the Chelsea Chieftains. They have him.
0 pucks given.
Hello and welcome to Zero Pucks Given, the UK Ice Hockey Podcast. Remember, we are not just a podcast, we're a one-stop media shop for the NIHL 1 South and beyond, doing live game updates, live stream commentary, Hockey Night live on YouTube, and eventually, hopefully, live streaming ourselves. We're in partnership with the Hockey Art Co., hockey clothing for hockey people, worn by the best and hated by the rest. Listeners to the ZPG network get 10% off of any product from hockeyartclothing.co.uk when you use the code ZP10. We're also in partnership with Manscaped, the globally recognised male grooming brand, with top-of-the-range products such as the Lawnmower, the Beard Hugger and the Dome Shaver Pro. Listeners to Zero Pucks Given get 20% off of everything from manscaped.com, plus free shipping when you use the code ZeroPucks20. Finally, we are part of the Sports Social Podcast Network, the largest sport podcast network in Europe, boasting over 500 podcasts from more than 20 different sports, and we're thrilled that the ZPG network of Zero Pucks Given and ZPG Ice Maidens are a part of it. Well, hello, welcome along. This is episode 150. I'm Ben, and this is Zero Pucks Given. 150 episodes is quite a landmark for a little one-man band podcast about third-tier UK hockey, so thank you so much to everyone for sticking with me for 150 episodes. Let's start with the news from last week in the Britton division. Disciplinary really is the only real updates. Invicta Dynamo's Regan O'Neill receives 2 games for reaching 10 penalty points. Swindon Wildcats' George Howe, he receives 3 games, but with 2 suspended for spearing to the groin area, which I think is a little bit lenient. However, that incident has brought him to the threshold of 10 penalty points, so Howe also receives an extra 2 games, so 3 games in total. Let's move on to the Facebook competition. Thank you for everyone that entered for a chance to win a ZPG hoodie. We reached 1,000 followers on Facebook, bringing our total social media followers to just over 7,000, which is amazing. I know some of them are probably the same people on multiple platforms, but still, it's getting it all out there. One thing you guys can always do on social media is share the pages and share the posts. If you're coming to the hockey with friends and they want more details, or if you even have friends that maybe don't even know what a podcast is, believe me, they are out there. Just keep spreading the good word as much as you can. I really appreciate it. So let's get to the competition then. I've got a random generator just here on the screen if you're with us on YouTube, and it's going to select a winner from the entries. So Nicola Cole, you are the winner. Send me a DM with your address and we will get your ZPG hoodie to you ASAP. Well, then, for this roundup episode, I'm going to try something a little different this week with the match reports. Instead of going through play-by-play, I'm going to talk about the game as a whole, and then we'll hear what the coaches say about it all at the end. So if you're joining us on YouTube, we'll have a graphic up of the game and the details and whatnot, and we will just talk through the game as it happened. Weekends off for Slough and for Invicta, but sorry to Carl Lennon, who still received my WhatsApp message asking for coach's thoughts, which he said he'd be happy to give regardless of Invicta not playing. So sorry, Carl, that won't happen again. I'll keep my head screwed on. So even with those 2 teams not playing, there were still 7 games. So we'll start on Saturday and we'll go to the early face-off as the Chieftains head to the Devils for a cup final dress rehearsal at Planet Ice in Gosport. Well, as we know, down at Solent, the rink is a little bit smaller than some. The surface is perhaps not quite as smooth as some, and it is always a fast start. But it's normally the home side that get off to it. But it was the visitors this time. An early power play for the Chieftains after Liam Coleman was called for high sticking on 3:41. They set up their power play, and if you leave either of the Bartletts free on the point, they are eventually going to find the back of the net with a slap shot. And that happened early on. 4:48, Grant Bartlett and Michael Power, they assisted Cameron Bartlett to make it 1-0 Chelmsford. They doubled their lead just after 10 minutes when Dylan Dix assisted Sam Russell with an even-handed goal to make it 2-0. And the first period then was really kind of played out like that. There wasn't a great deal of other action. It's always end-to-end because of how tight the rink is, but it always makes it exciting. If you haven't gone down there, it's actually a brilliant rink to go and visit because, as I say, it's always exciting regardless of what's going on the ice. Into the second, and Chelmsford went a little bit further ahead when Cameron Bartlett got his second of the game, assisted by Grant just before the halfway mark to make it 3-0. And then they got themselves on the board, the home side. Murray and Coleman assisting Kane Russell for his 21st goal of the season to make it 3-1. But just when they were probably thinking, yeah, this could be the start of the comeback, just a minute over after the restart, there was a power play after Callum Perella-Fox was called for tripping, and Chelmsford scored on it as Barnes Garner assisted Grant Bartlett to make it 4-1 on 34:45. And just before the end of that period, Cameron Bartlett got his hat-trick, assisted by Grant Bartlett. 36 goals so far for the season. And I actually think on the Saturday night, then that takes him to 599 points for Chelmsford in total. The third period was quite end-to-end, quite a few chances for both sides, a couple of penalties, but not before Harry Cloutman pulled one back after Richie Pickering was sent to the box for holding on 49:50. The Devils are pretty good on the power play at home. It's always quite a structured setup. Their set plays are sometimes incredibly hard to defend against as well. So Alex Murray gets the assist as Harry Cloutman makes it 5-2 with 10 to go. Some late little penalties there for Necro Savicius and for Mikey Power for a bit of misconduct and a bit of roughing, and a late delay game penalty, but Solent couldn't break through. So to be fair, they've been a bit unlucky in recent weeks. That's now quite a losing run that they're on. I know a virus has absolutely ravaged their lineup from sort of top to bottom. Cam Buckle, we send all of our best wishes to Cam Buckle. He was been in hospital with sort of like pneumonia type symptoms, I think, after having this virus. So it has really ripped through the team. But it has actually showed off the depth that Solent Devils have got, because even with the amount of players missing that they have, they're still rolling four lines, which is terrific to see. They did pick up a couple of injuries. I think Mason Wild didn't finish the night, and Aaron Taylor in nets, he was taken out just before the halfway mark after a collision in his crease. Rory Martin-Edwards filling the pipes for the rest of the game. But a 5-2 win for the Chieftains in a dress rehearsal for that cup final. You'd like to think that Alex Murray's going to get his boys to be a little bit more on the competitive side for that final. I think it's going to be a really excellent game. I'm going to be down there to take it in. And like I say, I think it'll be closer than this one was. But Chelmsford coming away with the 3 points, and quite deservedly so. The Sunday, they will host the Redhawks at home, whilst the Solent Devils will make the long trip up to Cardiff. On to Romford versus Cardiff Fire on the Saturday. This was one of those games where Cardiff have obviously got that long road trip. For every game, we sort of said, perhaps they should be taking advantage of bus legs in the first period when they play at home. But every away game for them is similar, and it looked like it could go that way when Niels Muscallans, he assisted Louis Allen to get his second goal already for the Buccaneers, having only signed on last week. But on 3:09, when Romford went ahead, you could have been forgiven for thinking it was going to be a long night for Cardiff. But after Tyrone Wells was boxed for cross-checking in the 8th minute, Cardiff got an equaliser when Moody assisted Jasper Quinn for his first goal of the season on the power play to make it 1-1. A couple of minutes later, though, Romford retook the lead when Briggs and Hushka assisted Luca Pascal to make it 2-1. But then literally less than a minute after that, back on the power play went Cardiff after Tom Wilson sat for interference, and Moody and Stevens assisted Lewis Stevens, who brought it back to 2-2. Again, just about a minute after that, Cardiff then took the lead when Matthews assisted Bailey Hind-Pitcher to put Cardiff 3-2 up. And it stayed like that for the rest of the first period. There was a couple of penalties a little bit late on. Shea Woolmore took a fighting penalty just after the goal with Aaron Reagan. But then just towards the end of the first, there was a penalty for James Matthews for hooking. So they were going to start the second on the power play, Romford. But didn't score on the power play. But as soon as they were back to full strength, Jure Hushka made it 3-3. Dervish and Huggett on the assists. Just 22 minutes 20 on the clock there for 3-3. And a couple of minutes later, Cardiff bit back again. Well, I'd imagine that Ellis Shepherd, who got one of the assists on that goal, would have been thinking, right, now we're 4-3 up. We're halfway through the game. now we've got to put our foot down and sort of take this result away from Romford. But it went completely the other way, as Romford then come back with 6 unanswered goals, including this crazy spell of about 4 minutes where they equalised through Tom Wilson and then took the lead 10 seconds later through Niels Muscallans, his 7th goal of the season, to make it 5-4. And then they got on the power play after, after Aaron Moody was sat for slashing. And then Briggs and Huggett assisted Luca Pascal to make it 6-4. Before Tommy Huggett got himself on the score sheet to make it 7-4, kind of rounding out a really, really poor second period for Cardiff, having taken the lead. Again, thought they would have probably pushed on with that, but Romford really did come flying back at them. Finished it off in the third period with 3 more goals added by Huggett and Hushka and Dervish to give them a pretty tidy 10-4 win. Hushka then nailing his 27th goal of the season. What a signing he has been for Romford. Really has been a sort of a talisman for them. But yeah, a 10-4 result. I doubt that Ellis Shepherd's going to be particularly happy with that. Possibly, obviously, the first half an hour, I'd imagine he'd probably be quite happy with the performance. But to let it slip away like that, we'll hear later his coach's thoughts as to how he thought that they dealt with that. And on the Sunday, they're going to head home and face the Solent Devils. So we'll hear what he has to say after that. Same with Jason Buttman. We'll hear what he has to say after the Romford Buccaneers take a Sunday night trip to Swindon. The final game of Saturday was down at the High Road in Streatham as the Swindon Wildcats played only their second game against Streatham so far this season. Both have been at the High Road. And it was, a little bit one-sided, which is probably to be expected. Streatham coming off the back of some kind of odd results after that cup semi-final weekend against Chelmsford, which shocked the life out of them. They then lost at home last week to Slough as well. But they kind of hit the ground running against Swindon as JJ Pitchley got them off the mark on 4:35. And then Aidan Doughty doubled the lead before the 10-minute mark. And then just after the 10-minute mark, Ryan Watt made it 3-0. So it was a pretty dominant first period from the Redhawks. And they killed off a Ben Painter penalty in there as well. The second again saw them 15 seconds in. Josh Ely-Newman getting that goal, Inglesby and Toombs on the assists to really kind of stamp their authority on the game. But when Oscar Sagan pulled one back, I think that Forsh's boys probably thought there was something in there for it, but they did battle hard for the next sort of 10, 12 minutes until Danny Inglesby kind of took the game a little bit further away. An assist there for Danny Milton, his first assist of the season from the goal. Harvey Steed getting the other one as Inglesby made it 5-1 on 34-36. And then right at the start of the third period, again, Streatham hit Swindon right where it hurts, right at the very beginning of the period. It was on a power play after Tom Ashmore took a high sticking penalty. And then it was finished 7-1. Danny Inglesby with his second goal of the night with about 10 minutes to go. They're pretty good at playing out the game, especially at home, Streatham. If they've got that win in the bag, they're pretty good at keeping their opposing side at arm's length. And that's taken a really good, solid 3 points. Being obviously Swindon having that week off and being 6 points behind them and having a better head-to-head record really was an opportunity for the Redhawks to put their name on the title challenge for this year, with Slough having a weekend off. And of course, as we said earlier, they will travel to Chelmsford on the Sunday night to see what they can do there. And that is actually where we start on the Sunday. It was a 6 p.m. face-off at the Riverside. Sellout crowd, absolutely rammed in the rink, and it got off to quite an incredible start. As Cliff has said in his coach's thoughts, quite regularly, sometimes Chelmsford just almost don't turn up. They defensively can be all over the place, and they found that in the first 10 minutes at home to Streatham, where, in all honesty, JJ Pitchley just tore them a new one. He picked up a goal off of a rebound on 1:48, which was a good finish. And then on 6:15, an absolutely cracking goal when Stead and Painter brought the puck out through the neutral zone. Got it to Pitchley, who skipped past a couple and then just slid it home low. And then Jordan Gregory smashing the third on 10:53 from close range after a bit of a goalmouth scramble. At that point, Cliff called his time out, and it absolutely worked, whatever it was that he said, because Chelmsford looked like a different side when they come out after that. Putting that pressure on, then they caused a turnover in the neutral zone, which saw the hand go up, delay penalty called, Cam Bartlett went on with the puck and managed to find the top corner from a tight angle to give Chelmsford a bit of hope towards the end of the first period with that goal on 15:57, making it 3-1. His 37th goal of the season, and as I'd said the previous night, where his hat-trick took him to 599, that goal took him to 600 points for the Chieftains, which is an absolutely astonishing achievement, something his brother achieved actually less than a month or two ago. So brilliant for both of those guys. Into the second, and the second period is normally where the Chieftains have a little downturn. It's especially when they've been playing at home and they've had a good first period, they'll come out of the second and it can be a little bit lackluster. Completely the opposite Sunday night. They come out of the second absolutely flying. They were all over the ice. The passes were tape to tape. Everything was clicking. The zone entries were all really, really aggressive as well, which was great to see. And they got another goal back when a shot from Tom Ravenscroft from the blue line was redirected right in front of Danny Milton by Matt Lauday. That's his third goal of the season. I think it's actually his first one for the Chieftains, though. So that pulled it back to 3-2 on 27:43. Before a typical Ryan Watt goal, Brendan Baird doing some really good stuff down in the offensive zone, but Ryan Watt brings the puck into the middle from the left-hand boards with just the silkiest hands and stuck it over the blocker into the top corner from the slot. 22 goals so far this season for Ryan Watt. It does show what a big miss he was last season, out with a hip injury for most of it. But when he came back, he was unstoppable. And so far this year, he has been unstoppable. Chelmsford got another one back though before the end of the period, when really, really good work from Dan Fay and Liam Chong got the puck into the slot to Cam Bartlett. It was completely unmarked and really, really calmly slotted it past Milton to 4-3. The next couple of minutes were quite hectic, actually, towards the end of that second period. And as I said, their zone entries were so aggressive, Chelmsford, that I think Streatham were then struggling to defend against those zone entries. And when on this play, it was shot after shot after shot that Milton was saving. When finally Cam Bartlett took a shot from a tight angle, it kind of bounced off him, and Lack was there on the spot, 16 seconds from the end of the period, and just tapped it in for 4-4. So that was an incredible second period from the home side. Again, out into the third period, again, they started really, really well. Grant Bartlett got his 40th assist of the season when he went down the right. His shot was pad saved by Milton, but Lack sort of contorted his body as he come up the left-hand side to stick the rebound in for his 13th goal, making it 5-4 on 44:05. Before Cam Bartlett got his hat-trick with a really, really cracking finish on the power play. Aidan Doughty had been benched for cross-checking, and JJ Pitchley was given misconduct because there was the hand went up for the delayed penalty, which was the cross-checking one. But as the puck actually changed hands, I think Pitchley took a shot at the empty net, which the ref called misconduct for. So they ended up on a 5-on-3, and it was quite a dominant little period from Chelmsford where they really did move the puck quite well. Were very, very patient, but a typical Cameron Bartlett howitzer was what got the goal. After that, Doughty returned, Pitchley stayed in the box, and they couldn't quite get another one on that power play, which they probably needed. As it sort of went quite late, Alan Lack took a holding penalty, which I've got to say, I didn't see. From where I was sitting in the rink, I didn't actually see the incident. I don't actually think I've spoke to anybody who says that they saw a clear holding. But regardless, Lack went to the box for holding, and literally the second that he came out, 3 seconds after, really, Danny Inglesby on the turn just slapped one straight in from the high slot for 6-5. And then right into the last couple of minutes, there was a couple of sort of unnecessary icings, I think, from Chelmsford, just where the pressure was really, really good from the Red Hawks. They were forechecking so high and forcing these icing calls, which when they did that in sort of late 58th minute, they pulled Danny Milton, and then right on 59 flat with the extra man on the ice, Inglesby and Ryan Watt got the assist for Aidan Doughty to make it 6-6 with 60 seconds to go. I don't think either side really wanted to lose it in regulation, so that last 60 seconds was actually quite contained. But into the overtime period, and I'll tell you, Chelmsford actually started it really, really positively, starting up there with Maltsev, Cam Bartlett, and with Dylan Dix in the back. And it was a really, really positive start. They were trying to look for those 2-on-1s, but not being as patient as they normally would be with starting from behind the goal. They really got themselves up into the offensive zone. And the puck was down in the far corner. Two players both on the boards. I mean, like I said, I didn't see the Alan Lack holding. That looked like it could have been a holding, but nothing was given. And as the puck kind of squirmed out, JJ Pitchley just was all on his own. Made it all the way down the ice to go 1-on-1 with Lauday, and I tell you what, he did and finish it really, really well. As I've said to Paints since, I said to anybody that was sitting near me on the night, Pitchley was legit unplayable on Sunday. He was absolutely incredible, and as I said earlier, he literally tore Chelmsford a new one. And it's sort of a funny one with this game because you should think it would be a tight game every time because these are two of the top sides from the league. But in recent years, they've just taken to smashing each other. But this was a proper end-to-end, real high-quality tie. As I said, the goals were high quality from the offensive side. Defensively, they'll probably be looking at from Paints and Cliff that there's things they could have done better. But entertainment-wise and an advert for hockey at this level, I don't think you can really get much better than that. It was a fantastic game. And possibly a deserved winner, I'm not so sure. Over the course of 60 minutes, it was just a fantastic game. I'm sure Stretton will say they shouldn't drop a 3-goal lead. I'm sure Chelmsford will say they shouldn't drop a 6-4 lead when they get up with 12 minutes to go. But thoroughly entertaining game. And I think that might be it for their league games now, actually. I think they might well be done. But I can see them two clashing at some point in the playoffs and that being incredibly entertaining. So after they had a weekend where they were looking to get 6 points and keep themselves up in that title challenge, they only ended up with the 4 points having got the win in Solent and then the 1 point from going to overtime on the Sunday. So let's have a listen to what Cliff thought about the weekend.
Yeah, tough weekend for us at Chieftains. Obviously, anytime you have a back-to-back with Solent and Streatham, especially with the away game being in Solent, this is going to be a tough weekend, and we knew before the weekend what we were in for. Saturday's game down there, I was actually quite happy with, to be honest. There was parts of it I definitely wasn't happy with, but that's usually the case. But if you'd offered me a 5-2 win on the way down there, I think I would have snapped your hand off, to be honest, because it's a very difficult place to go and get a result. We played the conditions a lot better than last time we went down there. You know, we know it's a different proposition when you go down there. It's not, you know, most of the things you know about hockey kind of get thrown out the window when you're playing a rink like that. So, you know, you have to adjust the way you play, and I think we did that for the most part. And yeah, probably there was areas of the game where we got a little bit loose. You know, got periods of time where we got a little bit loose, but nothing, you know, unmanageable. And yeah, it was three good points. We then come away. Come back home and we play Streatham, and you know, I struggle to, you know, see a game against them that doesn't have excitement, doesn't have something going on, that, you know, and this was no different. Our start was appalling, to be honest with you. It just, I don't know what it was, whether it wasn't ready to play, whether it was couldn't get your legs going from the night before. I don't know what it was. There's no real excuse though. The first period was awful, about as bad as we've started again probably. I feel like I've said that a few times, but this one almost definitely was. And then the second and the second period we were really good. Third period looked like we were going to get the job done. You know, I don't know the times exactly of incidents that happened, but I think we were 6-4 up with 3 or 4 minutes to go. Take a penalty, which I didn't see, so I'm not going to say it wasn't a penalty. I didn't see the incident. Didn't actually concede on the PP, but literally conceded while it was still a PP, with like half a second after the penalty expired. And then obviously Streatham snatched the momentum back from us, and they go on to pull the goalie, score with the extra man, and then they took it in overtime, which we all know can go either way. You know, we've very recently had overtime against Streatham and it went our way. It could go either way, and it often, you know, it often goes to the team that's made the comeback, which in this case we made a comeback, they made the most recent comeback, they end up taking the momentum into overtime and snatching the points. And I guess it's one for us where we will have to take a hard look at ourselves. It's not okay, and the boys know that, but there's knowing that, and then there's action in that. You know, the boys know it's not acceptable to start a home game in a sold-out building against a team that's supposedly one of our rivals in the top 3 of the league, and come out and basically kick your heels for 20 minutes and let them do what they want, and be 3-1 down going into the second period. But then we did so much of what we're good at for a period, well, sort of the middle, sort of 40 minutes of the game or 30 minutes of the game, so second period right through to near the end of the game. Brilliant. Like, you know, if we play like that for 60 every night, there's not many teams in this league that are, you know, going to be able to live with us. And then total mismanagement of situations in the final few minutes of games, and you know, it is what it is now. You know, realistically, you look at the league table, and barring 2 teams above us now absolutely falling off a cliff, which I can't see both of them, if either of them doing that. Obviously they play each other once and that's it. Winning the league is out of reach, no matter what we do. And you know, obviously we go to every game trying to win it, always will do. You know, I've got a big one against Slough this weekend, and then, you know, we completely switch our focus for a week to a cup final that we're in, and we absolutely are in it to win it. So we have to look at that, and then we go back to league games. And I think after that cup final break, I think we've got 8 left, so we'll have 7 left, and there are lots of games against the likes of Cardiff twice, Romford twice, Invicta once, and we've got an MK game still outstanding that needs to be arranged. But we've got games, and it's about learning now, and massively. And if the whole season hasn't been about learning, just watch the video of that game. You know what we can be on both sides. You know how good we can be, and how we can self-destruct and totally mismanage situations in games. So fair play to Paints and his boys. You know, there's probably a point in that third period where they thought it was gone, and then we gave them a lifeline by, you know, well, it wasn't failing to kill a penalty, but effectively failing to kill a penalty, and then their tails were up and they snatched that momentum, and well done to them. You know, fair play. It'll be interesting to see how things play out now over the next month and a half or so till to the end of the regular season. And for us, you know, we go to Slough on Saturday, absolutely looking for a win. And then, like I said, all focus next week in practice will be looking at the cup final and how we, you know, get 2 wins, or, you know, enough of a win and another win against Solent. So yeah, thanks to everyone who came out and followed us on the road. I know that trip down to Solent is not nice for anyone, players, staff, fans, and everyone who came and packed the building out on Sunday. Great to see everybody. We'll see you at the weekend or next weekend.
And having seen his side take a 5-point weekend with the 3 points from Saturday and the 2 points for the overtime win on Sunday, Ben Painter also gave his thoughts.
Yeah, we go into the weekend with a home game against Swindon. Obviously, off the back of a disappointing loss to Slough, that in my mind we threw away ourselves. So disappointed with that result last weekend, and I asked the boys for a reaction, and you know what, I got just that. We played a really good game on Saturday against Swindon. They're a young, fast team that are really well disciplined, and have given some top teams in this league a bit of a scare over the last couple of weeks, and I think it's a game that you can't take lightly. I think the 7-1 scoreline maybe isn't a real representation of the game. I think they gave us a bit more trouble than just 1 goal, but I think defensively we were very good, and we kept everything to the outside, and we played physical and really protected our house, and sort of we were very disciplined defensively, and then obviously offensively we were confident. We moved the puck well. We were jumping into pockets. We were clinical in front. So, yeah, I was really pleased with the bounce back win on the Saturday. And I always say that we don't lose twice in a row, and we have to bounce back whenever we do end up dropping points. So, I'm really pleased to get that result and get back to winning ways. And then, yeah, obviously go into Sunday playing Chelmsford away. team that's, we've had some funny games in this year. I don't think there's been a close one yet. I think either it's been a blowout one way or the other. And obviously we're still a little bit of a bitter taste in our mouths about the cup semi-final defeat. So I said to the boys, give me a performance. I think we started really well. Obviously, going 3-0 up, we were in control of the first 10 minutes. We had a really good start. Naturally, Chelsea would push back, and they did push back, and we conceded a couple. But you know what? It's an end-to-end game. I think for if you're a spectator of that game, and whether a neutral or for a supporter of either team, I think you would have got a really good game of hockey to watch and got your money's worth. So obviously lots of goals. I think probably a bit of a nightmare from a coaching point of view with the amount of goals that both teams conceded. I think Cliff is probably on the same page as me with that. But ultimately, do you know what? Like from us recently, our third periods haven't been good enough. And to be 6-4 down with 2 minutes to go and have that belief that we can get it back and score a power play goal or right at the end of a power play and then pull the goalie and get another one to tie it up, to force overtime and get that result, I'm over the moon. I'm over the moon with how we dealt with it, how we managed our emotions, and you know what, how we just didn't give up. So yeah, pleased for the weekend. Obviously, would have been nice to get a regulation win on the Saturday, but we're just taking it game by game, and we've got to try and find some form here to the end of the year and finish strong.
Sunday also saw the Thunder travel up to the Stars. These guys, they've kind of been going head-to-head over the course of this season, actually. It's the only win that the Thunder have got so far this season was against Oxford, and I think it was a 7-2 win at home, so it was quite a big win. Oxford finally now sort of having numbers back. They went through a massive period through sort of like November and October, November and December, where they were sort of having 12 skaters, 13 skaters. They really are they've got numbers out there now, which is fantastic. And they do work really, really hard. I know they work hard in training to make sure that all their systems work and make sure they're hard to break down. And they kind of almost look like they ran away with this one. I mean, a good tight start to the game. Another good crowd as well in the Ox Pens, as far as I've been told. But when there was a couple of penalties for the MK Thunder, Wellthall and Sire both took a seat sort of a minute after each other. There was a minute of 5-on-3. But when it was 4-on-3, after Wellthall had returned from his penalty, Oxford did take the lead on the power play. Covey in person assisting Jake Williams for his 10th of the season to make it 1-0 on 18-14. And that was technically the second period. There'd been a bit of a delay because of an injury on the ice, and they'd stopped the first period with about 3 minutes to go. So 18-14 was actually in the second period. Oxford then sort of started to run away with the second period, as you can see on the screen if you're watching this on YouTube. Robinson assisted Alex Tidings to make it 2-0. Jake Williams got his second to make it 3-0 on 27-11. Harrison Hallin with his first goal for Oxford, making it 4-0. And then Jake Williams netting a hat-trick on 32-03 to make it 5-0. And I tell you, it's really quite good to see the Stars playing with that sort of confidence, because both these sides have had that kind of season where you get a couple of goals against you and the confidence drops. So playing with that confidence has done them really well. I was kind of expecting a bit more out of the Thunder, actually, considering how well they played last weekend, admittedly losing both games 4-1 and 4-2 to Romford and Invicta, but certainly a much improved performance, which Will Fry alluded to in his coach's thoughts last week as well. They did pull one back, though, there before the end of the second period when they had a little power play chance, excuse me, after Harry Harrison sat for delay of game. But Reynolds and Sire assisted Xander Robinson to make it 5-1 on 38-18. But into the final period, and again, Oxford on the power play. Too many penalties for Milton Keynes. It's kind of been the problem all the way along. And on 46-22, Don Wellthall was ejected for a check to the head. And on that power play, Alex Tidings made it 6-1 with his second on 48-48. Right at the end of the game, they did manage to nick another one back after, again, another late penalty for Milton Keynes. Elliot Davis was sat for tripping on 58-45. Sean Reynolds managed to sort of break out and nick a short-handed goal with a buzzer beater on 59-59, giving Oxford a 6-2 victory. Now, as I'd said, I'm sure that there'll be a little bit of disappointment in the Thunder camp as to how well they played last week. So let's hear what Will Fry had to say about it.
Yeah, just the one game this weekend for us away at Oxford last night, and quite frankly, from our perspective, unacceptable performance after the last couple of weeks and the performances we put in against Romford and Invicta weekend before, we felt like it was an opportunity for us to get another one over on Oxford, and not to say by any means that it was going to be an easy game, but one that we thought we could really get something out of if we continue to progress. And I think it just feels like 2 steps forward, 10 steps back. Really, after last night, we didn't get going at all, and I think that there maybe was a feeling that after playing so well against Invicta the week before, all our guys had to do was just lace the skates up and step foot on the ice, and that the 3 points would be ours and gifted to us. And obviously, we all know that that's never the case at any level, really, let alone this one. And, fair play to Oxford. They played really, really well. I thought Ross Miller was very good in net for them, and when we troubled him, which was not as often as we would have liked. And Tidings for them, I thought, had a very good game, and some of their younger players that stepped in and got some opportunities played well too. And yeah, quite frankly, not good enough for us. But there's 2 ways, I suppose, we could approach the situation, and one of them would be to get angry and lose your cool about it, and really sort of tear into the way that we played. But ultimately, I think we have to remember that this is a young team, and that's a learning opportunity for them, that they can't expect things to be handed on a plate, and they have to go out there and earn any result that they need to get. So it's part of our wider process, and yes, it's disappointing, and the performance was not acceptable by our standards at the best of times, let alone how we've played in the past couple of weeks. But it's all about getting them back in on Wednesday and having a discussion about it and what we can learn from it, and hopefully it's something that then doesn't happen again in the future, and we can move forward into Swindon and Cardiff next weekend.
And I'm sure he'll be more than excited with the result. But as I said earlier, there was a quite a nasty injury on the ice, so some concern for that shown by Mark Saunders.
1 game weekend for the Oxford City Stars this weekend, as we hosted the Milton Keynes Thunder at the Oxbens. We knew that we needed to get points on the board on this one, as we keep in the hunt for, solidifying that 8th place as ours for the playoffs. And the boys executed the game plan pretty much to the letter. It was a fantastic start from us. I think we took control of the game pretty early. We could have been up by a couple, but at the time, there was an injury. It was about 3 minutes to go in the period. It was 0-0 at that time, and unfortunately, one of our guys, Will Harrison, took a nasty puck to the face. Special mention to Crystal, the therapist, the Oxford rink staff that came and helped us. Anybody else that offered some help there. I think the Milton Keynes doctor that's on their bench, she was, stepped forward and, offered some help as well. So, I think the hockey community kind of springs into action when it's like that. Everybody helps out everybody, and it's one of those freak accidents that you don't really want to see happen to anybody. But everybody helps everyone out when those happen. And it was an unfortunate injury to Will, but nothing broken, as I said. And he'll make steps to recovery now. But due to the extensive amount of blood on the ice, the officials called the end of the first period with 3 minutes to go. It was 0-0 at the time, and we had to dress down a little bit and collect our thoughts, get back on task with the game. And we came out after that and scored 5 unanswered goals. And I don't think there's any coach that can ask for much more than 5 unanswered goals, and to keep your foot on the gas and take control of the game like that we did, which I was really pleased about. Third period got a little bit dicey with penalties. We conceded on the penalty kill, which I wasn't too happy about conceding. I didn't think it needed to get to that penalty trouble for us. But yeah, the game got a little bit tricky in the third period. Penalties littered from both sides, and the game kind of went flat a little bit. Didn't really get any flow back in the third, but we were in control. We managed to get through to the end of the game and run out 6-2, which I'm pleased with. We just need to keep ticking our own boxes. We've got challenges that we've set ourselves. We need to keep, meeting those goals every week. And we've got a big week of practice coming up. And we take on the Invicta Dynamos away next week. Special mention again to the Oxford City Stars fans. I mean, you guys are fantastic. You turn out in huge numbers for us every single week. You're loud and you back this team, right from the end and right from the beginning to the end. And, I think the performances are starting to show and, give you guys something to really get behind and really cheer for. We've got some tricky games coming up. But we aim to just keep playing forwards, keep putting performances out there, and put product out there that everybody that's involved in Oxford City Stars hockey can be proud of. So yeah, big week of practice coming up for us, and we take on the Invicta Dynamos next week.
To the Link Centre then on Sunday night in Swindon, as Romford, fresh from that 10-4 victory over Cardiff, took that little trip around the M25 and down the M4 to Swindon, where I'd say Sunday nights at Swindon have been tricky for everybody who has gone there. And they've improved as the season has gone on, particularly at home, the Swindon Wildcats. And they took an early lead when Ollie Stone and Ben Nethercell assisted Jay Warren, who's been fantastic for them so far this season. 2:58 gave them an early lead in that first period. They had a good power play chance, but couldn't quite get it through. But when they were kept getting gifted power play chances by the Romford Buccaneers, they then started to take them. On 18:46, Ollie Stone and Charlie Turner assisted Jay Warren to make it 2-0 on the power play. Then into the second period, Kazakhs had sat for 2+2 for high sticking, so drawing blood, meaning the extra time off the ice. And then less than a minute later, Harvey Briggs was given 2 minutes for boarding. So there was a little bit of 5-on-3 action where Swindon just really, really took advantage of it. Jan Kostel Senior making it 3-0 on 24 flat on the power play. And then 20 seconds later, he gets his second of the game to make it 4-0 on the power play as well. 26-10, Hayden Lee made it 5-0. And then 29:08, 6-0 as Jan Kostel Senior grabs his hat-trick again on the power play after Shea Woolmore had sat for 2 for roughing. The first half an hour that I would imagine that Jason Buckman would definitely want to forget and try and have his lads play a little bit harder to get back. Having those guys in from the Raiders is always good. He had Ellie Wakelin available as well. She was playing, was missing Abby Sylvester. Not quite as strong in defence as they normally would be. But I think the discipline is probably where Jason Buckman's going to be a little bit upset about how this game went. They did pull one back to make it 6-1 when Shea Woolmore was assisted by Louis Allen on 29:49, so just before the halfway point. But before the end of that second period, Alfie Druitt and Ben Nethercell added goals on the power play after the bench received a 2-minute penalty for abuse. Into the third, and it was, say, Romford pulled another couple back in the last 7 minutes. Donald Campbell getting one there to make it 8-2, assisted by Pascal. And on 59:15, after a late penalty for Shea Woolmore, with the Buccaneers short-handed, they managed to nick another one back when Allen and Canis assisted Harvey Briggs to make it 8-3. Like I said, a fantastic win for Swindon. They've been so hard to beat at home. But I would imagine that the Buccaneers are probably quite disappointed with the result, but more the manner of the disciplinary issues. And they were really punished on the power play with 6 power play goals from Swindon. So let's have a little listen to Jason Buckman's thoughts.
Mixed weekend of results. Saturday at home against Cardiff. We controlled large parts of the game. Conceded a few scrappy goals. Once we took control, we finished quite strongly with some good goals, some good finishing, some good team play. Sunday's game in Swindon. Where do I start? Disappointing, very disappointing. I really can't fault my guys, how they battled all game. They never stopped. They never stopped. The game's difficult enough facing 6 guys on the opposition. When the 7th guy gets involved, it gets to a point where I try and protect my players. They try and protect themselves and defend in the actions. They're putting in the hard work on what would have been a very close and competitive game. For it to be decided with some really poor decision making, you just feel you've got to write the game off and move on. 5 power play goals tells you the story of the game and how the game was called. You take those away, it's a 3-3 game, and the game everyone expected to see between 2 young teams. So it was a big shame that he couldn't let the guys just play it out and battle it out fairly. But it's done now. We move on. 3 valuable points over the weekend keeps us above those teams below us, and we move on to the next game.
And after taking that really, really good win, despite having, of course, quite a heavy defeat on Saturday, Ken Forshee gave his thoughts to ZPG.
Yeah, I really liked the way the team responded tonight. I didn't think we were great in Streatham. I thought we were okay. I didn't really think we had our legs. I thought Streatham was good. Tip the cap to them. That's a solid hockey team, but we didn't skate. We were a bit flat on Saturday night. Streatham was good though. All the credit in the world to them. And then tonight, we told the team we want to rebound. We want to get back at it, and we used our legs tonight. We were really good tonight. We got contributions from up and down the lineup. Big Yanni, in his 40s out there getting the hat trick. Really good to see because he's been such a key part to our team this year, teaching the young guys how to play the right way, not cheating and doing all the little things. So great team effort tonight. It was nice to score 8 goals and not have to grind out a win like we usually have to. And really enjoyable. Still going in the right direction. Everything's good. And we keep going next week.
The final game of Sunday saw the Solent Devils make that long trip up the A34 and across the M4 and into Cardiff, where they found their hosts in quite irresistible form, to be honest. Again, missing players through injury and through sickness, having Cooper Ivey backing up with Aaron Taylor injured from the previous night. But Cardiff took the early lead in this one. James Matthews went unassisted on 7:33. Just before Charlie Wedge took a slashing penalty, so then there was more chances on the power play. But a pretty tight game on the big ice at Cardiff. Into the second period, Solent actually thought they'd scored, but then the goal was waved out. I think it was given for a player being in the crease. But Cardiff went right up the other end and doubled their advantage. It's so often the case if you have a goal disallowed that you get caught in the sucker time of it. When Lloyd and Hein Pitcher assisted Will Thulbert for his 6th goal of the season. He's having quite a good season there, his first season up at this level with Cardiff. 2-0 on 27:38, so Cardiff really were quite in control then. As we went into the third, there was an early fight back from the Devils, Coleman and Cackett assisting Jack Peacock to make it 2-1, and the rest of that period remained really, really tight. They had a chance on the power play, Cardiff, to go further ahead after Aston Lacey sat for elbowing, and then right at the end, the Solent Devils pulled the goalie to try and force overtime, but they couldn't quite do it, and it's a stunning win for the Cardiff Fire and a real run now for Solent Devils where they haven't been able to get a win on the board, which I'm sure will be worrying their head coach Alex Murray.
Yeah, so this weekend, doubleheader weekend against Chelmsford and Cardiff. We were looking to bounce back after a few back-to-back defeats. It's no secret that we're really short at the moment due to injury, and we've got this awful sickness bug that seems to be going around. It's put Cam in hospital with pneumonia. And we can't be sat around feeling sorry for ourselves, but it definitely was a tough weekend. I think the guys that were able to address 1 or 2 games this weekend left it all out there, but ultimately with such a short squad, it was a tough weekend. I think looking at Saturday, we had some good chances. We just weren't clinical on the game plan. And I think the biggest thing against Chelmsford, we were missing some key centre guys, and they were winning a lot of offensive zone face-offs. And you've only got to have a few opportunities at the Bartletts, and they're gonna score relatively easy in our ink, and that was the case, even though we had set some plans to try and avoid that. We could have probably have been a slightly different game, as will also be the same for the Cardiff game when I come on to that. But had we scored at the times when we were dominant, we had some big chances in both. In particular on Saturday, we had some big chances, in particular in the second, and end up, I think, 3-1 down, or no, 5-1 down or something. It's all a bit of a blur, but it was certainly is frustrating. And I think being clinical is important, and we weren't this weekend in particular on Saturday. Obviously Sunday we were without Aaron and Kane, who picked up injuries on the Saturday on top of everyone else. And credit to Cardiff, they played a solid game, in particular their goalie. I mean, some of the saves that he made were completely outrageous, and it was a frustration as well with some of the refereeing decisions. I mean, we had a goal chalked off because the puck's near the crease, and I know that I need to seek some clarity with Blaine for that, because every time the puck's near the crease, he just seems to blow the whistle as opposed to let, if the puck's there, then players should be allowed to be there. And we score a good goal to make that 1-1, which gets waved off, and then they go 2-0 up, and we just couldn't seem to score, which was just completely baffling given the chance we had, the power plays that we had. So overall a frustrating week, a week of reflection. Now we've got a couple of weeks away from the final. We're not quite ready. I don't think. We need to rest up, need to get guys back, and we need to be a bit more clinical in front of the goal, stop feeling sorry for ourselves and roll our sleeves up and really get on with it.
Then after taking their 5th win of the season, I'm sure that Ellis Shepherd was more than happy with the performance on Sunday.
The 2 games for us this weekend, the first game, Romford away on the Saturday, really a tale of 2 halves, that game. I really liked our compete for the first 30 minutes. We were leading the game and we look good. They get one then and they get another one quickly, and we just never really recover, and it's disappointing. I thought the game could have been there for the taking, but unfortunately it wasn't meant to be, and it was a bit of a lackluster performance for the last 30. A little bit disappointing. We then go into Sunday with a few guys back in the roster, but a few boys playing through injuries, and of course we're still missing around 5 or 6 guys as well, and key guys. So we know Solent are a difficult team. We've been on the wrong side of the score with them a few times this season already. So we know we needed to bring a level of compete, and we certainly brought it. It was a fantastic performance, a performance I know that we can make as a team for the whole season. But a testament to the boys. It was fantastic. We battled all night. Those 50-50 pucks, we won every single 50-50 puck that was there to be won. Variations in our game, just a desire and accountability. It was just there in spades and abundance yesterday, and it felt really good after the game, and to look around the change room after the game and see all the morale, which was much needed as well. It was a fantastic Sunday, and it wrote the wrongs of Saturday.
Well, another cracking weekend of Britton Division hockey. So many great adverts for hockey at this level. I'm going to change the player of the week up a little bit as well, as we're going to go into 3 stars of the week. So let's have a look at the top performers from game week 23. Well, scoring a hat-trick in a memorable performance for Saunders Stars was the man who stood up and been counted during the tough times this season for Oxford. Jake Williams coming in as the 3rd star of the week. Coming in second with a sterling weekend of 4 goals from 5 points that included a hat-trick at Chelmsford on Sunday, capped off with the overtime game-winning goal. And in all honesty, even say from the point of view of a Chelmsford fan, JJ was proper unplayable on Sunday. But taking the top star of the week, top billing with 6 goals, 1 assist, 2 man of the match awards, plus the first goal of his second hat-trick of the weekend on Sunday, took him to 600 points for the Chieftains. A massive congratulations to big bad Cam Bartlett. Let's have a look at the tables then after the weekend's results. As I said, Slough Jets having a week off, and they remain at the top of the table, and it's now looking incredibly tight with the Streatham Redhawks. So Slough Jets have played 28, won 23, 2 overtime wins, 1 overtime loss, and 2 defeats. 74 points. They can get a max of 98. Streatham Redhawks, they've played 28, won 23, 2 overtime wins, no overtime defeats, but 3 regulation defeats. Puts them a point behind on 73, and they can now get to a max of 97. In third, also played 28 at the Chelmsford Chieftains. They've won 20 with 1 overtime win, 3 overtime losses and 4 defeats. Now sees them 8 points back, which I think is going to be a little bit too much to make up as far as the league title challenge is concerned. In fourth place, the Solent Devils, still in fourth despite having quite a bad run. They've played 17, 1 overtime win, 1 overtime loss, and 10 regulation defeats leaves them on 54 points. So they're 11 points back from third place Chelmsford. It's looking like that top four could well finish in that order. The top two are going to fight that out until the final game, I believe, but certainly is exciting in the top two. Into fifth in the Invicta Dynamos. Again, they had a weekend off. They've now played 29, won 13 with 2 overtime wins, 2 overtime losses, and 12 regulation defeats. They're on 45 points. They can get to a max of 66. Interestingly, in sixth, the Romford Buccaneers, 1 game less. So they've got a game in hand on the Invicta Dynamos. And they've also won 13, also 2 overtime wins, but with 1 overtime loss less than the Dynamos and the same as 12 regulation defeats. With that 1 game in hand, they're only a point back. Now, if the league was to stop now and the playoffs were to be sorted like this, Romford would play Chelmsford, which I think is a cracking playoff quarter-final. But I can see Romford getting themselves above Invicta, meaning that Invicta would play Chelmsford in the playoffs, which would also be incredibly cracking. And Romford would then play Solent. And in all honesty, with the way that they're all playing at the moment, who knows how that's going to go? I think that the playoffs in this division is going to be pretty tight. Seventh place then, the Swindon Wildcats. They've played 30, 110, 2 overtime wins, 2 overtime losses, and 16 regulation defeats. 36 points. So they're 12 points back from the Buccaneers. So I can't see them finishing much higher than 7th, but I think that 7th is pretty much nailed on for them. Mathematically, they've not qualified for the playoffs just yet, but I think 7th is where the Wildcats are going to finish. Into 8th then, and the Oxford City Stars are there after that win from the weekend. 5 wins, 1 overtime win, 1 overtime loss, and 23 regulation defeats leaves them on 18 points. They can get to a max of 36. Fire's games in hand are still there. They only have 3, but they did, of course, get that win against Solent Devils, where we said if the games in hand were against teams that were above them, they might struggle to take points, but they took points there. So the gap is only 1 point with 3 games in hand. So Cardiff have played 27, won 5, 2 overtime losses, 20 regulation defeats. They're on 17 points. So 1 point back with 3 games in hand. And down at the bottom, the Milton Keynes Thunder, they've played 29, they've won 1, and they've lost 28, just the 3 points. Hopefully, again, we'll start to get back on the horse and start to improve as they did the week before last, so they can start picking up a few more points. But I think Cardiff probably got a really good chance of getting past Oxford and into that 8th place and qualifying for the playoffs, where, of course, they will then play the team that wins the league in the quarterfinals. So, but that middle pack of quarterfinals, 2 versus 7, 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5, they are going to be absolutely cracking. Let's have a little look at next week's fixtures in the Britton division then. Saturday, the 15th of February, Valentine's weekend, of course. Early face-off. Solent get a chance to get one back as they host the Cardiff Fire, 5 p.m. at the Gosport Ice Arena. 6:30 at the Hangar, massive game as first place third. Slough Jets host the Chelmsford Chieftains. And at 7 p.m. at the Thunderdome, Milton Keynes Thunder versus the Swindon Wildcats. Into Sunday the 16th, 5:45 at the Stables in Gillingham, Invicta Dynamos versus the Oxford City Stars. Considering how well Oxford played on Sunday, that, I think, is going to be a very competitive game. 6:30 at the Link Centre, Swindon Wildcats versus Slough Jets. Massive weekend this for Slough, considering Streatham only have the 1 game. They really have got a chance to start getting up ahead of steam, but it's 2 very hard games, of course, hosting Chelmsford, and then that Sunday night trip to the Link Centre that's causing so many people so many problems. 6:45 at the Vindica Arena, the Milton Keynes Thunder are in town to play the Cardiff Fire. And the final game from Sunday, Streatham Redhawks versus Romford Buccaneers on the high road in Streatham. That will round off our Britton division fixtures for next week. What we are also going to do then is have a little squiz at the Northern League. Obviously, we know the Steel City Showdown. It's going to be the playoff finals that's going to happen. It's going to be a national playoff final champion. So the Saturday is going to see the finals from North 1, North 2, South 1, South 2. And then on the Sunday, the winners from the North will play the winners from the South, and we'll find out who is the best in the country as far as playoffs are concerned. There was a couple of shock results actually up north this weekend. Saturday the 8th, Blackburn took an 8-2 win at home to Widnes, perfectly expected. Leeds Knights, they lost 8-5 at home to the Whitley Warriors. And then the Deeside Dragons were beaten 8-3 at home by the Nottingham Lions. That quite a shock on the Sunday, the 9th of Feb. On Sunday the 9th, also, the Hull Jets, they took a 7-1 win over the Leeds Knights. In attendance were the guys from the Slapshot Syndicate, which is a great new podcast out of Hull. They focus on the Hull Seahawks, but then they cover the rest of the National League as well. The guys took a little jump down to take in some North 1 hockey, and by all accounts, they really enjoyed it, and the Hull Jets put a show on with that 7-1 win. Then another crazy result as Solihull Barons beat the Blackburn Hawks by 6-5, which denting Blackburn's sort of title charge there, I think. Whitley Warriors took an 11-4 win at home to the Sheffield Scimitars, and the final one saw Billingham Stars take a 3-1 win away from the Widnes Wild late on that Sunday night up there in the northeast. Well, Widnes is in the northwest, of course. Billingham in the northeast. Let's have a little look at their table then and see how that's looking. The Stars and the Hawks are now on even games. Both played 28, but 9 points ahead for the Billingham Stars. I would say that's theirs to lose up there. Solihull Barons, after beating Blackburn, they're hot on their tail now, only 5 points behind, having played the same amount of games. And then the middle lot, again, quite tight, similar to the Britton division. Hull Jets, Deeside Dragons, Whitley Warriors, only 9 points there between the three of them. Whitley got about 3 games in hand as well on the teams above them. So real chance to mix all that up. The top 6 in that league, Stars, Hawks, Solihull Barons, Jets, Deeside Dragons and Whitley Warriors, they've all qualified for the playoffs. So that's making that a really, really exciting league. Looking like it's going to be Leeds and Nottingham that fill those last 2 places in the Morley playoffs. So for the Steel City Showdown then, that's going to be happening over the weekend of the April the 12th and 13th. Tickets are available now through England Ice Hockey. If you just go to their website and search the Steel City Showdown, you can get your tickets at the early bird price until the 14th of February. So you don't have that much longer to get the cheaper price. And then, of course, next week, we'll be running our competition where we're going to give away a pair of tickets to the Steel City Showdown. So you can go up there and support your team. As I've said from like a few times when we were discussing the playoffs, they kind of put out the numbers. Tickets have sold quite well in all the blocks. I would imagine once everyone gets there, it'll just be, groups sit with the same groups. But they've also put out the numbers for the National League playoff, which is absolutely flying. There's so many tickets being sold for that. I think MK's block is entirely sold out. Leeds block is entirely sold out. And it's something that I've always said the National League does really well, is that playoff final, is that the fans from all the teams go there to enjoy a weekend of the top level of hockey that they like watching. And I would love everybody in the Britton division to do the same. So just get your tickets. It's one weekend a year. Even if your team aren't there, come and enjoy the celebration of hockey. Come and meet other hockey fans and talk to other hockey fans. I know there'll be stuff going on in the arena as well. There'll probably be a few clothing stalls. Last year, we had the guys from Andy's Man Club that were doing a fantastic job as well around the side of the rink, talking to people about men's mental health. They were also involved with sponsoring the Man of the Match Awards and things like that. So, yeah, the playoff weekend is just a really, really great weekend for hockey fans. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for the coaches sending in their coaches' thoughts. Let me know if you like the new format. I was a little bit sort of unnew to it, trying to go. Didn't want to sound like I was reading, which I found myself doing a lot recently when I write out the whole match report of the game. I wanted it to sound a little bit more spontaneous. Obviously, I'll go a little bit more into depth with the game that I've seen. So that's I can't really do much more about that. But I'd love to see more games, absolutely. But unfortunately, time restrictions and distance restrictions. But yeah, I'm definitely trying to get out before the playoffs. I've been to Slough this year. I've got to try and get to Oxford, and I've got to try and get down to Invicta as well so far this year. And then next year, I'm going to definitely try and plan some proper away trips so I can get to Cardiff. And then on Feb 22nd, I will be down in Solent for the first leg of the Cup final. Hopefully, we'll be doing something a little bit special down there as well. So thank you so much for listening. We've got a couple of other episodes coming up later this week. Again, I'm just now trying, literally almost as we speak, to line up schedules with Damon Porter so that we can chat to Damon about his move to Streatham and everything that's gone on in his personal life since he left Chelmsford. He's been an incredibly busy boy. Unfortunately, the Danny Newlove episode has had to be postponed. She's got incredibly busy with work. We might move that into next month. So we'll have 2 female guests next month, as we've got Ledders, Claire Ledbury from the Cambridge Kodiaks in there as well. And of course, the Wayne Box episode, the Slough Jets equipment manager, Wayne had a family emergency. We had to cancel that episode, but it will absolutely be happening. His promise is going to make it worthwhile as well. It should be a fantastic episode when it happens, and I will let you know. Everyone that sent in questions last time, I have saved them. I've got them there ready to go, but we'll probably put them out again once we get reconfirmed with a date. Then later this week, I've got quite an interesting little episode, actually. I'm going to be talking to American actor Phil Eichinger, who I've been speaking to a little bit recently. He's making his own little documentary because he's a sort of a former semi-pro hockey player in America, got to quite a good level, and then went off and had a fairly good acting career. And now he's going back to it, and he's going to sort of try and play as high as his body will allow him. And he's making a little online documentary for people to sort of follow his journey through getting back into hockey in his late 40s. It's entitled "Age is Just a Hockey Number." We'll be speaking all about the documentary, about his hockey career that he had when he was younger and his thoughts into getting back into it. And we'll discuss a little bit of his acting career as well. That'll be coming out later this week, an episode with Phil Eichinger. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next time.